As a freshman, and someone who's only been here 1 week, I was disappointed in the fact that as we take up probably one of the most important bills of the year or over the last few years, that this has been rushed, this has been put on our desk late. This is something that I've witnessed in New York State for a number of years as my capacity as a mayor, and watched this body. And I just need to say right off the beginning, as I come here and witness it for the first time on my first day, that I'm very disappointed. While I will go in, I'm on committees and we'll debate bills, very minor, and we'll go to committee and we'll talk about them for months, and then we'll finally vote that we take something as major as this and ram it through for what I perceive as a bill that A, is for a personal agenda, and B, which I don't think is going to affect one criminal from committing a crime. But what it does is it limits the rights of law-abiding citizens from protecting themselves, which I have a personal story I'll get to in a second that hopefully will illustrate my point. I have had over 430 emails and texts in my district since this bill was announced. Zero have been in support of any more gun control. I just got off the phone a little while ago with Senator Gallivan, who told me he has 850 correspondence from his constituents, and only 2, he told me, 2 are in support. I think with numbers like that, it becomes more clear. I'm sure some people in this room have districts which would like to see more gun control. But as my colleague stated, New York State makes it very clear that we cannot infringe any more laws and regulations on law-abiding citizens when it comes to guns. I won't get into the details of the gun bill itself, because I think, as we're hearing here in this debate, that it's fraught with a lot of inequities, a lot of loopholes that maybe in the future will be buttoned up, but we can't have no guarantee. But one thing I'm hearing in my district, as I've talked, 6 New York State troopers and 2 sheriffs, all today. They're very upset, and they're telling me that the law enforcement people they talk to are very upset. One of the reasons is they feel that this is going to put them in extra danger. They have told me today they are inclined not to go to households if they have to confiscate a weapon. They fear for their safety. They fear that this is going to spawn civil disobedience in the form of a Martin Luther King or a Gandhi, where, as it happened in Canada, when they tried to prohibit, forget the name of the rifle, that a number of farmers and citizens just did not register them to the tune of 30 or 40%. If we have that happen in New York State, is the governor going to send out the militia or the state troopers or the sheriffs and try and round up these weapons? Will there be pushback from law-abiding citizens who do not want their weapons taken? It opens up a can of worms. As you can tell, I'm opposed. And I take this to my colleagues here today who are going to vote for this. Logically, from what I understand, 12 times as many homicides are committed in New York State by people who are on drugs and on welfare. So I would assume that if later in the year a bill gets brought up that we are going to drug test all welfare recipients, that we will be in unanimous support for that, because that is the logical conclusion I see following here. So lastly, I want to tell you a story. Back in 2007, I have a 4-year-old daughter.
Excuse me, Mr. Speaker. I've been waiting patiently for a question, and I haven't heard one yet.
I'm going to get to one. Just 1 second, sir. In 2007, at my home, 4 youths between 19 and 21 drove their car through the neighborhood, stopped in front of my house after vandalizing a number of homes in the area. It was the middle of summer. I had a 4-year-old daughter next to me, 5:30 in the morning, and the sun was coming up, and they were outside my home screaming at each other about something, which made me very scared. I called the police. I had the police on. I was the mayor at the time. And while I was waiting for them to come, they talked about they were outside saying to enter my home. At that point, I wished I had a gun with more than a 6-round capacity against 4 intruders. Luckily, when they were actually on their way up my doorstep, that the police came and they were arrested. And I later found out they were armed, they were on drugs, and they had committed thousands of dollars of vandalism in the area. So my question, Mr. Speaker, is when you put this law into effect, what is the guarantee that law-abiding citizens, or excuse me, that criminals will adhere to it? That's whenever I look at a bill, I look at the common sense side and I ask, will this legislation effectively prevent or do what it's intended to do? I don't see it. I just would like an explanation, sir.
Mr. Licoli, why do you rise?
I have no microphone.
There was a question in that, I believe. Mr. DiPietro, there was a
I did
question.
hear a question.
Yeah.
And the answer is that you haven't read the entire bill, because
Yes, I have.
there's plenty in this bill that provide criminal penalties for a variety of gun offenses for people who carry illegal guns. And I suggest that you do that. And I might also add that there is no provision in this bill for confiscation of anyone's weapon. So none of local police nor state police will be required to go out and confiscate any weapons. It allows, in effect, people to continue to own assault weapons so long as they register them.
Well, as I read the bill, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I could be, but if they refuse to register their weapon.
If they refuse to register their weapon, they could be guilty of a crime.
How would that, then how would they?
It can be enforced, but I assure you that there is no confiscation going on here.
Okay.
And the state police aren't going to go out and try to get somebody's weapon. They may not even know about the weapon if the person doesn't register. So I don't know how they would confiscate it. The idea here is to try to register all assault weapons so that the state police can have a handle on the weapons. And Mr. DiPietro, I assure you that the state police helped to write this bill, and the reason they wrote it is because they have to go out on the street and contend with all of these different weapons that they don't presently possess and are not armed with. And they're concerned more than anybody else in our society about the number of assault weapons, AR-15s, AK-47s that are out there in the hands of criminals and everyone else. So this was written for them, for the most part.
Okay, I just needed a clarification. One more point, sir.
Yes, sir.
Is this on the bill, Mr. DiPietro?
Yes,
Oh, on the bill.
on the bill. Again, if or someone refuses to register and it's and they have the registration period, will they be summoned? Will they be? Will the police? Will they not be bothered if they just say, "I'm not going to register"? What is the penalty if they don't if they do not just don't register?
If they knowingly fail to register, it's an A misdemeanor. So nobody's going to go to their house for an A misdemeanor.
So then they'll turn themselves in, I guess.
I'm sorry.
Oh, so they'll have a misdemeanor, so the police won't go pick them up. They'll have to turn themselves in. Is that?
Well, technically, sometimes if that weapon is being used in a crime, or somebody's carrying you down the street and the cop stops them, and they say, hey, this guy's got an illegal assault weapon, he would be charged with a misdemeanor. But I don't know, and the state police haven't told me that they're going to go out and look for assault weapons. The idea really here is to prevent people from doing it, because as you've suggested, there are many law-abiding citizens in this state. They don't want to break the law. They will, the law-abiding citizens that you're talking about will register under the law because that's their duty and they understand it. And I recognize that. We're not really talking about those people. We're talking about those who fail to register that we need to police. And we're trying to get a handle on that by this bill.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.